Millzy.
Yes, that's my name.
I listened to a song last weekend that was released, technically, I guess, released in 2017.
I told you not to look up my SoundCloud.
Do you know that 2017 was 5 years ago?
Well, yeah, numerically.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Here's where I'm going with. Ow, golly, I think I tore something in my arm.
Like, logically speaking, yes.
Yes, but mentally, like, my brain, like, melted for
it's
a
like when
second.
people were like, the 90s were 20 years ago, and people were like,
No,
it was 30 years ago.
Yep. Or my favorite is like, 20 years ago, 1980, and it's like, no, 2000. It's like, whoa, what? Yeah, but I mean, it's just so funny how fast time, I guess, is moving, even though time is just one, concept of humankind, and two, constant and never changing.
Especially when we get so many magic sets a year.
And that's where I'm going with it, baby. I mean, come on. Like, how many sets have come out since 2017?
A non-zero amount, but I do not have the
I feel
exact
like,
amount.
like, you have used the non-zero amount word so many times. Guys, welcome back to Hometown Commander. I'm your host, Mikey, and with me, as always, is...
Yeah, boy, Millzy. It's a joke that keeps giving, but...
That's... Never mind. Today, we are going to be talking about, as you can probably guess, yes, we're going to be talking about the Magic sets that were...
Wizard Presents 2022 streamed earlier this week. We're going to be primarily talking about the Magic side of things. We can talk about the D&D stuff really briefly. You are a DM that's enjoyed DMing multiple times. I've played through one campaign. I think both of us have at least a love for D&D.
Oh, yeah.
Even if we don't play it all the time. I think the stuff is really cool, but that's not what our podcast is for. But I think let's start there.
We're just...
Wizards of the Coast, of course, our robot overlords,
Yes.
also own D&D. They announced a myriad of new things, not only new stories, not only new campaigns, but they also announced, one D&D?
I think that's what it's called.
They're planning for the future, where instead of making a 6th edition, they're just going to be simply adding more options, making changes for the future, and allowing players to customize more of what they want out of their game. Hopefully this is going to be culminating in what looks to me like a really cool computer program where you can kind of model dungeons and areas, and that seems really cool.
And what I've seen from different games, Magic included, is, unfortunately, but also fortunate at the same time, it takes away from the in-person gathering of it all. Ha ha ha, Magic gathering.
Get wrecked.
But it really does boil down to this whole concept of everything can be easily edited right then and there. So, like, I used to play a game, I've talked about it before, X-Wing. They actually do this exact same thing where they have a point system of what you have to go off of, and they edit that via online. Like, they don't give you a card with a printed number on it, which I think was pretty smart. Now,
like, did you go off and download like a PDF rulebook, or was it something that you printed off like a one sheet for each unit?
You never had to print it off. You could look it up.
Would guys bring like iPads or something to the store?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you could look it up. The biggest thing that was created for that was like an app that could like build your squad for you.
Oh, okay.
Which was nice.
So something like a D&D Beyond, where you would have your team preset in the app. That's a great idea.
So that's why I kind of like this whole concept of like, being more online, but if we can kind of like merge the two together, and I'm sure there will be many ways with this new D&D thing, and I'm sure that Magic could probably figure out a way to kind of combine that whole thing as well. Excuse me, to where you have cards that are edited on Arena that you can still play in person. And I mean, it sounds funky. I know we've seen a lot of things on Arena that make no sense on paper.
I feel like the biggest joke example of this was the Urza Planeswalker card that came out, the Unset, where when you used the ability, you went to a website and basically spun a wheel, and you got given an ability.
As joking as that sounds, I think it's just because of when it came out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it works a lot better for D&D in this case because you're talking about giving a visual component to something that's never really had a visual component before. Like,
it's all in your head, yeah.
Not necessarily. I don't mean that no one's ever created anything visual for D&D. There's plenty of them, right?
I used to do it, yeah.
Your manuals that you as a DM can buy for those campaigns have visuals. D&D Beyond allows you to put your own character art for your character and gives you ideas of maybe what your home world might look like, or things like that. What I think is cool about this, I kind of look at it as like you're kind of making your own Battle for your own like Baldur's Gate game, right? Because not necessarily a true RPG.
No, yeah.
But you're making these 3D scapes where you can see where your player actually is.
Yeah.
Maybe you can determine how far you actually want to move visually, as opposed to saying, "Hey, I'm gonna run backwards 30 feet." And sometimes when you're playing a game of D&D, it's like,
where am I in conjunction with
okay,
the
so
enemy now?
yeah, okay,
So I mean, well, it's so interesting. I've already seen a bunch of people like get on their high horse and be like, "This isn't D&D," and blah blah blah, and it's like, it still is. I really think that what a lot of people are missing is it's not taking hold of D&D and saying you played this way or you're not playing correctly. It's not saying that at all. I think it's just adding another variable to it, and it's a positive variable.
The way all the staff talked about it in the video was basically saying we want to give more resources for players to play the game in the way that they want to play the game. You know, there's always going to be the players that do not want that. But there are going to be players like we said last night. I said I think the coolest part here is if you're playing with a group of players over Discord or something like that, you now have a visual component that might make some of those situations a little bit easier in a situation that might not be. I doubt Wizards will ever force you to play the game that way. But you had a great idea last night when you said that hopefully this platform allows them to make some sort of subscription service where you could run any module they've created through this program, or you could get access, kind of like in D&D Beyond where you can get access to all the books. Maybe in this program you could get access to, I think they said they were going to take one of the campaigns and pre-generate it in the thing or something like that. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I think is cool. And
Wizards, if you're listening, subscriptions, the way to go. Stop selling $60 manuals. It makes no sense.
All right, so we decided right before we recorded that we were going to attempt as hard as possible to make a visual component for this, and if we don't, then completely ignore what I'm saying. But I'm realizing that this article that I have up on the screen as our fake visual component is in a different order than I wrote down in my notes.
That's okay.
So we're going to just follow the article.
Oh, okay.
Because it's going to have everything anyway.
Yeah. Sure.
And we'll just go with that. So we start, although it was not the first thing we talked about, the first thing in the article is Dominaria United, releasing in just a matter of weeks, Mikey. Is it hard to believe?
No, because I'm glad we got a break, honestly.
We're back in Dominaria, and who else is back? Everyone's favorite villains, the Slivers. No, the Phyrexians.
I kind of wish.
The Phyrexians are back. They're going to Shieldred and her team are on Dominaria.
Yeah.
That's, I feel like, not a spoiler at this point.
Did you see the flavor text off of that?
I did.
Oh, she was like, Jimmy G, you had failed.
So, you'll actually be able to, if the visual component sticks through, which I'm going to try my best to stick it through, you'll see the article. This has links to everything. Every time Wizards posts a new set, they post what's in all the packs. Yep. They post all of that. Of course, if you haven't heard the Lost Legends program they did, Wizards found a bunch of old boxes of Legends in a warehouse, and they're including them in some of the collector's boosters at a very, very, very small rate. What I've heard is it should be about 3% of collector's boosters have a chance at a Legends card. And remember, that's any rarity. So you're not even guaranteed a rare.
That's crazy.
I'll have you know that we're... So, Mikey, we can announce that we're going to be trying to do some sort of live stream. We don't have the date set down yet, but we will make sure it's pushed out there more in the videos to come up.
Yeah.
But we have a set booster box coming, and I have a bundle and a couple collector's boosters coming. So we're going to be opening those up on live stream, and we can have some fun. Normally that's a video we make together, but it's going to be really cool to do it on a live stream.
For sure. I think it's going to give us access to do so much for you guys that are watching and listening. It may involve some other people. We might bring them in, have them open up some packs with us or something. We haven't really kind of sat down and really planned it all through, like Millzy said, but yeah, we'll definitely get you some more information when we get it.
One thing we can talk about, though, just really quickly, is if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you'll note that our YouTube channel is a lot more active than it was 3 weeks ago. We're doing our best to push out content. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I just wanted to mention it. If you're interested in other content, we have it coming up. Next up, we have The Brothers War. It's the next thing in our release date. This is coming out, I believe it is this winter in November, it looks like.
Yeah, so kind of like how
I want to give a slight... It's not a spoiler necessarily, but I think it needs to be said. So a lot of people thought that The Brothers War was just going to be this remake of, of that set of the original storyline. we learned at the tail end of the Dominaria storyline that Teferi is considering going back in time. It's something he never wanted to do, but he feels like he needs to do. I won't give any of the context surrounding that. I feel like that's not a spoiler in itself.
Yeah, if you know Teferi, you know.
We've been basically told that the Brothers' War is going to be a mix of in the past and in the present.
Well, that definitely spoils without spoiling.
I remember the first response I had at the end of the story was I messaged one of our buddies, Steven, and I immediately said, I really hope they do this time travel well, because popular media doesn't always do a very good job with time travel.
No, never, honestly.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I'm just hoping that they don't absolutely bin it. So...
What's kind of annoying is I feel like everybody is just going to be like, we have great story. We got to add time travel. And it's like, why?
So I expect, a lot of people expect a lot of artifacts. Of course, this took place around Mirrodin, which of course was a plane that had a lot of artifacts, and that's what Phyrexia was. Of course, Mirrodin became New Phyrexia.
Yeah.
The Brothers' War goes back to the time where, of course, Urza and Mishra were fighting each other. Both of them were artificers. They were great. So people expect a lot of artifacts. There's a rumor going around on Reddit, and I have no problem mentioning this because we have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
There's a rumor that we may see another mystical archive type thing in this set, but for artifacts, which I think would be really cool.
Kind of like what they did
now, I don't know what that is. I mean, I doubt we see Mana Crypt and all these expensive artifacts reprinted, but it would be interesting to see what would be included.
Give me a soul ring. I don't care.
Next, I want to talk about, Mikey, I don't know if you saw any of these, but over the next year, Wizards is releasing reprinted promos from through Magic's history. They released like Sarah Angel and Shivan Dragon already for like the start, and then with Brothers' War, there's going to be these next three: Wall of Roots, Wood Elves, and Windfall, all in the old frames, but with the date stamped year, and of course the new rules text as opposed to what it would have been then. I think these are really cool. I doubt they'll be very expensive, and I think they'll be fun, especially for a card like Wood Elves with some cool old art. Or like Windfall. Windfall's not an expensive card to begin with, but it's cool to have this old version.
I agree.
Even Sarah Angel or Shivan Dragon, cards that are not played in our format very often, it's still cool to see them get released.
Get
new versions, and not only that, but get these. We'll talk about it in a second, but these old border foils have become very popular over the last year with Time Spiral Remastered.
Yeah.
And Modern Horizons 1 and 2 had some of them. And Wink Wink Nudge Nudge, we're going to talk about a set in a little bit that has some of them as well. So I love seeing these old border foils, especially with the updated text. It just makes it cool. Instead of trying to play an old version where you're like, wait, what does this mean? All right, well, we moved from 2022 to 2023. Woo. And our first set in 2023, they called it Winter 2023 in the timeline, which I'm assuming means kind of like Call Time, where it came out in January.
I was going to say January.
That's what I expect, and it'll be called Phyrexia All Will Be One. So for anyone that didn't watch this Dominaria United sets up a 4-part story in a story arc. Dominaria United, the Brothers' War, Phyrexia All Will Be One, and then the next set form an entire story, kind of like how you can think about Nicol Bolas' saga was kind of all together as one story, although it's separated on different planes. We've seen some art for this, including this beautiful Atlas Nord art, as well as we saw some other, on some of the other articles, you've seen some pretty landscapes of Phyrexia. Again, I expect cool art. We haven't seen a lot of Phyrexia in a really long time, so I'm kind of interested to see what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
Again, I expect, do we see Infect come back? I imagine we still see a lot of artifacts. We see some cool things, but what does that look like? We got a hint that Planeswalkers getting completed. Mm-hmm. Are we going to see more Planeswalkers get completed?
I would love that, yeah.
What does that look like? And we have literally no information about this set. All we've seen is a couple pieces of art, and we have a name. We know nothing else.
I don't remember who posted on Instagram. I was watching a video, and somebody was talking about just this set alone, and they were like, when New Phyrexia came out, I believe was the set way back when, before our time, right? Yeah,
it was. I did not play Magic.
That's exactly. I was not playing Magic that time either. I couldn't remember when it came out specifically. Anyways, all that to say, this guy was talking about when New Phyrexia came out. Like it was like a really really strong set, and the cards have lasted like their time.
So another idea that's been put out here is when New Phyrexia originally came out, the set was supposed to be called Mirrored and Pure, It was supposed to be this idea that Mirrodin had fought off the Phyrexians, that they had survived, and that the set was supposed to be a celebration of them surviving. But what happened was Wizards duped everyone and shipped the set as new Phyrexia.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it kind of surprised everyone. So people have been starting some rumors. Are any of these sets gonna... Is Phyrexia OB1 going to be something different? Is this kind of a teaser? Are they pulling the rug again?
I would love that.
Because we have yet to see any product images of this. We know the Brothers War is the way it is because we've seen product images.
What if they actually literally just call it Mirrored Impure?
I think it'd be hilarious.
I think that would be sweet.
But we'll move on to our next set, and I'll give you... I'll read it off first, and then I'll give you what my first honest opinion was. It's called March of the Machine, and it has like the most Avengers logo writing I could ever think of in a Magic set.
I agree. That's the first thing that came to mind.
This is going to be the fourth of our set. And this is going to be the finale. Now, the really interesting part about March of the Machine, and I don't have it pulled up, but I wanted to go over my reactions to this because we saw a piece of art that shows non-Planeswalker creatures fighting with Planeswalkers on a plane that is not their plane. So there was a piece of art.
Go on, you're good. I'm going to look it
up. There was a piece of art that showed... I will not be able to find it now, won't I? Anyway, it shows a couple Planeswalkers fighting with creatures, people like Dina from Strixhaven, Borborygmos from Ravnica, and I'm forgetting also a couple more. But we basically saw this splash art of all these people fighting together with Planeswalkers. And so it made people start to think, how is this possible? Is the fight happening on a different plane? A lot of people had the rumor that... Yep, that's it right there. People had the rumor that maybe that the Phyrexians are going to kind of mess with the Blind Eternities, and that maybe non-Planeswalker creatures will be able to move through the Blind Eternities.
It's got Barrel in this, and you have like...
And you see Kimi from Kaldheim.
That is Kimi, okay. You have Kimi.
So on this piece of art, I apologize I can't pull it up here, but...
you got the chariot, the 2-cat chariot.
But here's creatures that are not from this native plane that we're currently seeing. Now we have Chandra in the front there,
course,
but we have all other non-Planeswalker creatures. So it's kind of interesting. It's this interesting thought that people are saying is the reason that the Phyrexians wanted the oil from Kaldheim so they could make their own way to pass through without the planar bridge. What's going on? My big note was this epic end kind of gives me endgame vibes. It gives me this we're all pulling together to fight the bad guys type thing. And the big questions online have been Planeswalker deaths. Are Planeswalkers we know going to die?
I hope so.
And not only that, but I think the big rumor that just makes me laugh is, are they going to do the classic movie trope of going to bail another villain out to help them fight the big bad?
Well, that's the thing.
Do they go try to go get it? Not, I hope they don't. But do they go to the Mind Realm and do they take Bolas out of it to help them fight the Phyrexians? Do cool. They go seek out another villain to help them? You know, these are the questions that people have, and I hope they don't. But I mean, it's a fair question, right?
Eldrazi versus Phyrexians.
Do we pull Emrakul out of the moon?
Thank you.
And get her on our side?
Give it to me. Teferi was there when that happened, right?
Teferi was not there, to my knowledge.
Oh, he wasn't there?
Tamio was there.
Tamio was there.
It was her, Jace, and...
she's completed, so...
Yeah, she's completed now, unfortunately. But anyway, so we have... After that, we have a little thing called March of the Machine, The Aftermath. This has been described as an epilogue to the story.
Yeah.
All of the information we have about this epilogue is that it's not a set, but it's standard legal.
Wait.
So two things. The first thing that originally came to mind was it was a cycle of commander decks, maybe. Maybe it was a cycle of commander decks where they were including some creatures that maybe weren't in the set, and they were going to use some story cards in the decks to do that. Well, that can't be the case. It's not standard legal. So my second thought was, is this Brawl decks? Is Wizards going to try their hand at Brawl decks again? You know, this was something they tried in Eldraine. Arena's gotten a lot more popular since then. Brawl is a popular format.
Right.
Is this something they try to do there? Is this a return of, like, dual decks, or you know what I mean, that old format where they'd make 2 decks and they'd package them together.
I
and
used
the
to
point
love
was
those, man.
I don't know. I mean, none of us know. Obviously, we're all shooting in the dark at this point. But the Brawl deck was the first thing I thought about, because it was like, why hasn't Wizards tried to make anything about Brawl again? Like, I know it's on Arena and like people play it on Arena, but like, it was clear they tried to push Brawl for a while as a way for them to kind of like have a commander format they could control. I mean, Brawl, of course, is very similar. It's standard rotation. But everyone's kind of intrigued as to what March of the Machine, the aftermath, is going to be. I mean, we're not going to know until we get there, right?
Of course.
Again, it's not a main set, and it's standard legal. That's all we know about it.
Interesting.
So that limits and also doesn't limit.
Yeah, it could be a lot of things.
So I find that kind of funny, because it's like, it tells us something, but it also tells us nothing at the same time.
Before we move on to one of the sets I'm very excited for, which is
no,
hilarious.
2 sets that I'm very excited
which is very funny, because like this whole 4-part story arc is actually very, very cool and is very interesting and intriguing. Who the heck is the Machine? Is it just Karn? Are we just calling it Karn?
Who's the March of the Machine?
Yeah, it just says March of the Machine, so the Machine. Who the heck is the Machine?
Maybe they go after Karn. I mean, you also have to remember the Phyrexians are very machine-like in the way that they exist.
I get that.
So I'm not sure. I mean, now, without spoiling the Dominaria story, you know, Shieldred is going after Karn for something. I'm not going to give away what, because we do find out some of it in the story. But Shieldred is after Karn. Now, we do learn in the story, though, that Karn cannot be affected by Phyrexian oil.
Because he good like that.
He also kind of caused it, but that's not the point. So, my biggest worry, Mikey, to be honest, about this whole storyline is I get the same reservations I had with Infinity War and Endgame, where I felt like in a lot of ways...
I was like, wait, that wasn't a set?
The writers make this cool situation. They bring in this cool villain, and you get all these great moments, and then we just kind of write the villain off. Yep. We find ways to kind of make the win happen. It doesn't always feel right, but we get the win in the end. They try to give you some jabs so that it feels like you lost something. But at the end of the day, we just kind of, in my opinion, it was the same way that they dealt with Nicol Bolas. We just kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
We mind realmed Bolas away.
Yeah.
We didn't actually defeat Bolas. We didn't actually destroy him or do anything important. We just locked him in the mind realm. Like, to me, I kind of worry that, are we going to get a solid concrete ending that's going to push us forward to maybe a new villain or something else? Or are we just going to kind of comic book away our villain and move on to the next one?
Right. I mean, this has been going on for quite a while now. We look back when we saw Vorinclex on Kaldheim, and we were like, why is he there? And, you know, it was funny because I think it was a mystery for, like, the longest time.
As soon as I saw Vorinclex, I'll be 100% honest, I had a hunch of what they were building towards. Because you don't see Vorinclex and then not think, okay, well, we're dealing with the Phyrexians now.
Right. I mean,
one, because Vorinclex showed up in a place he should not have been able to go. And that was the big sign for me that was like, okay, the Phyrexians clearly have access to something they shouldn't have access to. And now we have to figure this out. Now, every time we've seen a Praetor...
So many speculations.
Every time we've seen a Praetor so far in the storyline, they've moved planes. But when they move planes, they're in a weakened state, because even though they're not planeswalkers and they can use the planar bridge to move between planes, they still get injured in the process.
Yeah.
Like, we saw Vorinclex in a tattered state when he came to Kaldheim.
Yeah, he looked like a freaking
We saw Urabrask on Capenna in a really rough shape, and that's why he was hiding. Jin-Gitaxias, we didn't see as much of it. But
he had Tezzeret kind of working with him, so it didn't really matter.
And of course, Shieldred, same thing. You know, had to be kind of regenerated and pieced back apart on Dominaria. So it kind of intrigued me, like I said before. How are they going to... It's not just the planar bridge. They can't just use it. What is this idea that they're working towards of how they're going to be able to move around? Because it's not just going to be the good guys go to New Phyrexia, big war, and it ends. I don't think that's possible. I think what they're going to do is there has to be some sort of multiplanar threat. There's no way that this doesn't end in some sort of... Either
that, or it backfires on the Phyrexians in a good way, maybe in a bad way. Maybe they're trying to kill a bunch of people, which probably they are, or complete them, or whatever they want to do. incubate. I don't know. And they start pulling in all of these heroes and whatnot, and instead of them like having bridges outwards, it's just like sucked in.
There's been a ton of, like, if you go on a couple of the subreddits that care about Vorthos, there's been a lot of theories as far as how they're doing it.
I don't want to. I get stuck there.
And I don't want to go into any of them because it's not that I don't think any of them are right or wrong. It's just because we don't know anything, and so I don't want to spend 3 hours talking about all of these ideas if we have no even guarantee that they're going to be the case. So,
I love speculating. So much fun. Let's move
March
on to
of the
my
Machine:
favorite.
The Aftermath ends this storyline as we know it.
Yes.
Mikey,
Uh-huh.
do you know what set immediately followed the Bolus storyline?
Listen. The first
What is this one?
Well, technically is the prequel to this one, or this is the prequel?
That's right.
This
Thorn
is
of Eldraine.
Yes.
Immediately followed the Bolus arc.
Yes.
And it was kind of our set off. Well, funnily enough, Mikey, in fall 2023, which I expect to be that October, September,
so far away now.
we get to go back to Eldraine. Man, I am excited for Wilds of Eldraine.
So good.
Eldraine was a set that I think got a lot of hate for the cards that were broken in it, and not a lot of people loved the story and the world.
I did. I don't know why. I wish I was playing back in this time, man. This just
Standard was a mess.
Oh, well, I mean, Standard's always a mess.
But the story and the kind of flop of a book were really cool. And we announced that we're going back to Eldraine. This time we're sticking to the wilds. We're sticking to the forest. We're sticking to outside of the cities. And they've said two things that kind of got me excited. Enchantments are abound.
Dope.
And more fairy tales is how they described it. As direct quotes.
That's what I want.
And of course, the art that we see for the set here on the screen, very Sleeping Beauty-esque.
Oh yeah.
Very Apple. I kind of like it. I think it looks really cool.
Oh no, that's Snow White, by the way, not Sleeping Beauty. With the apple. Sorry.
Oh, that's right. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
I thought it was an apple that puts Sleeping Beauty to sleep.
No, it was the little spinning wheel.
Oh, that's right.
Sorry.
Apparently, when you only see those movies like once or twice, you just confuse them together.
Apparently, when you just do nothing but watch those movies, that's what happens.
Anyway, friends, our tour doesn't end there because in winter 2024 / the end of 2023, we get to go back to one of my favorite planes of all time. I think Mark Rosewater did a great job at describing Ixalan as a plane that everyone loved the look of, but people didn't love the mechanics of.
Yeah.
And we're going back for the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I found it interesting that a phrase they used multiple times was dive into, which has got a lot of people speculating that maybe dungeons will return.
Oh.
Maybe we'll see some more mechanics. I mean, we see caverns, which is another word for cave or structures, so maybe we see something different. But the two big things that were talked about multiple times were dinosaurs, pirates coming back. And of course, our other two tribes were merfolk and vampires. I'm sure we see them.
I think the thing is the big two things are the dinosaurs and the pirates, because those are like
specific to Ixalan at this point.
Hugely specific.
Merfolk, of course, very popular in Dominaria, very popular other places.
Vampires.
Of course, vampires.
We don't need to talk
no
about
lack of planes that have vampires. I have to
we
say though,
already
the Merfolk on Ixalan are my favorite type of Merfolk though. Like I do love the Kamena and his deck and that kind of style. I think it's really cool. I love the Explore mechanic.
That would be the Simic deck that I would make.
I'm really sad it was banned in Historic because like that was the one deck I wanted to play in Historic, and right when Historic got created, that was the first thing that got banned because it was actually a very good deck at the time.
Right.
Of course, if you've listened to our podcast long enough, you know I have a lot of love for the dinos. My first commander deck I ever built.
What?
And I will happily welcome either a new dino commander or even just new dinos.
Yeah. I'm sure they will. I hope they're smart enough for this. I hope they stick with like that color combination that they went with, of like having the Naya dinos, having the Simic merfolk, having the black-white vampires. I think that was really, really
They
cool.
should. I mean, I imagine they should because Wizards is designing so much more for Commander than they used to. And so I think they will. I think they'll stick with it. They'll see, I guess you think about it, vampires you can extend to that third color.
Yeah, you can. You can go hard, it's
Merfolk,
fine.
we have actually seen Merfolk support in both Bant and Teamer, so they could have an option there to pull that. And of course, Pirates were in Grixis. So we do have plenty of options as far as that goes. I think the thing I like the most about Ixalan is I feel like, just like Mark Rosewater said, the world was great.
Yeah.
The story was kind of hand-fisted towards the end, but the world was fantastic. And I loved the world. It was gorgeous. The new tribes being pirates and dinosaurs were really cool. Something that had never been done before. The merfolk got this new breath of life into their tribe, and it was something new and cool. And my hope is that we get a cool mechanic. My hope is that we get something new, or they bring something back. But my hope is that, like you said, they do these 4 tribes right in their time on Ixalan. All 4 of the tribes got pretty good commanders the first time we were there, but I hope they get more. I hope we see new things. I hope we see, not necessarily reinventing the wheel for the sake of reinventing the wheel, but I hope we see cards that fit into these decks. My hope is that if people have these tribes, decks that have these tribes in them, they look forward to Ixalan as maybe something that can bolster up their strategies.
Hopefully, yeah.
I feel the same way about Eldraine, because, Eldraine was this very monocolor heavy set, kind of like Theros, right?
Yeah.
And so my hope, same thing for Eldraine, is not that we get Great Henge 2.0, although I would happily welcome a Great Henge reprint.
I'll take it in red. Can we get one in red?
But my hope is we see that mystery and that comeback as well.
I mean,
we don't need 10 more broken mythics. We don't need another Oko.
No.
But my hope is that
I'll take it.
We see more of those cool things that made Eldraine what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it houses one of my favorite commanders, and I'm excited for Eldraine. Very, very excited for Eldraine.
So we move from our standard legal sets, and now the articles going into our
legacy is kind of like the overarching term.
I think they call it. What's the name of it? There's a word for the legality. I cannot remember. But...
Old. It's all old.
Anyway, the point is, so we're the first setup is Dominaria Remastered. This is a set that, of course, when we first saw it announced, the first thing we thought about was Time Spiral Remastered, right? A set we got a little over a year ago, reprinted a bunch of stuff from the Time Spiral block. So the question mark people had was, what does Dominaria Remastered mean? The professor made a video lamenting that he hoped it wasn't another Innistrad double feature where we just get cards in black and white frames. Thankfully, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Wizards is taking 27 different Dominaria themed sets, picking cards from all of them. Now, 2 of those are Brothers War and Dominaria United, but the rest of them back through Magic's history involving Dominaria.
Which
they're going to be selecting cards, and they're making a new draft format for Dominaria. So I doubt we'll see as many Dominaria United and Brothers War cards, because I imagine they want to get this pretty heavy on the back of the older cards.
Right.
But I think we'll still see a few.
Dominaria was like the plane, right?
Because you have to remember that a lot of the old sets were never called Dominaria, but are now a part of it. Ice Age, Times, these, or not Times, but a lot of these old blocks were a part of Dominaria now, canonically, whereas they weren't necessarily at the time.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So Dominaria was the plane.
There's a lot of stuff that they can pull access from. So thankfully, a lot of our worries about what this would be pulling from got qualmed. They also showed us 2 cards from the set, Arborea and Force of Will. So what's cool, and I think this is, we've talked so many times about how we both love and hate that they have cards with so many treatments. But this is the one thing I love, is we get borderless versions of some rares, and then we get old border foils of these. So every player that wants what they want is going to be able to get something
right,
here.
That's awesome.
We're going to have the base versions of the cards, which should drop the price, especially hopefully on Force of Will, even though it's a mythic. You have the borderless, which the players who really care are going to go for, and you have these old border cards like we got in Time Spiral Remastered and we got in Modern Horizons 1 and 2.
The players who care are going to go for.
Yeah, but it's a different set of people.
Yeah.
There's the Magic players who only buy stuff for their cubes, and they're going to probably go for these, maybe to match some of their older stuff.
That'd be pretty cool.
I love the mix of what we're getting. So we are getting draft boosters and collector boosters. Kind of sad, no set boosters. I know that the set's meant to be drafted, but I would have liked to have...
Way too far.
I would have liked to have had the ability to get art cards and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like they did for Modern Horizons 2 or that kind of thing. But that's okay. Dominaria Remastered is still going to be a ton of fun. I think it's going to be a cool set. It's going to be like Time Star Remastered. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. It's definitely not going to be for the average player. It's going to be like those master sets where they're for the enfranchised player who have the money to spend or know how to get their worth out of it. So it's definitely not a product I would recommend to anyone. But just like when we talked about Dome Masters 2022, if you see a draft pack at your local Walmart or Target where it has 3 packs, pick it up. Because you're still going to have some fun opening it. It's still going to be kind of cool. But I wouldn't advise you go out and buy a booster box unless you are familiar with the market and you understand how to do this kind of stuff. Because it's not going to be a cheap booster box. Time Spiral Remastered wasn't, and I doubt this will be either.
Right.
I do like seeing the collector's boosters, as much as people love and hate on them. I do like them as a format, and it does help. I think it helps keep the people who want to spend more money going to them as opposed to the draft booster boxes, and leave some of that product available for.
It's the I think it's the whole like, it's marketing 101. Ew. That's where I work now. Ew. But I mean, like you look at the whole like Apple iPads and Apple iPhones, like they went to a full on. Like you either get a 64 gig or you get a 256 gig.
Well, now, right, all of the products like iPad, you have the baseline, and then you have those Pro models or those Air models or those top-of-the-line models. So same thing with the MacBooks, right? They did the same thing. You have these tiers of products, just like everything else in this world.
It's literally like a very, very low end for something that you're like, is not minuscule price, but still a lower price.
Yeah.
Or it's this very, very high end with this higher price, and it's like I want to choose the higher price because it's going to be the higher value.
I had the privilege of Mikey for this next set. I had the privilege of showing some of the art for this to our friend Andrew this weekend, and he shared my love of just looking at the art for this. Next year we get Lord of the Rings: Tales of Middle Earth. This is going to be a modern legal set as well as Legal and Commander and Vintage. We've seen just a little more art. We saw the Balrog there. We saw this big image. What they announced on the video was there are going to be these kind of art cards that you can get in the set. And 36 of them, I don't think it was 36, maybe it was 32 because this is rectangular. But either way, the set of these cards, when you put them together, will make this big image.
Wow.
So, of course, the first thing they did was click on this image, try to find the things. Now, the one thing I want to mention, and I don't want to mention this because I don't think it's wrong, but I think there are people who, anytime you mention Lord of the Rings, their first thing is the movies, right? The movies are the thing that we have in popular culture to... The first thing that people noticed, when looking at this image, is that Aragorn is a dark-skinned man.
Oh, is that
in the art?
Is that kind of like who that's supposed to be?
Yes.
Okay.
So people's immediate reaction was, of course, I don't remember the gentleman's name who played Aragorn in the movies, but that's who we see as Aragorn, right?
I agree.
Now Wizards claim that for their imagery and their things, they went back and studied the text. They did their best to take other things into account. I have nothing wrong with the change. I don't care.
I don't care either.
But I can see where people who maybe are bigger fans, who are bigger fans of the fandom, may feel misled by that choice because it doesn't reflect to what their opinion of the media is. Not that it's right or wrong, but that it's not what they expected. I expect this to happen more in this set.
Yeah.
You know, we saw the Amazon Prime show coming out, and the Amazon Prime show is changing a little bit from the original text and doing their own thing. I'm not saying that this set is or isn't. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if it did, but I it's okay. It's not that I'm saying that they can't change anything they want. I mean, I think they need to leave certain things being things like Gandalf or the Hobbits. They need to leave that imagery the way we expect it. But I don't think that it's wrong for them to take artistic liberties.
No, I agree for that.
But I think it will throw some people off. And so that's why I wanted to mention it, is just that it was one of the things that the internet honestly reacted to right away.
I think for me, two things here. One is probably more important than the other, but the first thing it is, as long as they keep... I'm no huge Lord of the Rings fan either. I'm a Star Wars head first and foremost, so Lord of the Rings is something that's like kind of to the left of me most of the time. But I agree with the artisticness. They can go with that however they want. They can draw however. They can give Gandalf 7 arms. for all I care. Now, granted, he could probably do that because he's a wizard, but that's how they explain it, and that's fine. I think at the root of it all, if they can keep what core values Tolkien, the I don't know, author of this incredible universe, as long as they can keep the core values there, and what Tolkien was trying to bring to the table, which basically was just, the fantasy realm is something to just have a huge and amazing imagination for. And we see stuff like the Balrog, and I mean that itself is just such a weird imagination to have. And I think those kind of things, Magic already kind of brings to the table, because Magic kind of goes off of, I don't know, D&D, and D&D went off of, I don't know, a lot of Tolkien things.
So here's what I missed. They didn't say this, and I didn't read this article, but it says the goal of this set is to express the story and setting of Lord of the Rings in cards for Magic the Gathering. Countless prior efforts have painted vivid pictures of this world. Movies, that kind of...
Except.
But our goal is a modern take on the work of J.R.R. Tolkien, lovingly crafted for a new generation of players and fans. So knowing that, then that's fine.
Yeah.
They have their own stylistic thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with changing how a character is represented in your work.
I get it.
But I think that my point was just that there were probably people who were expecting Orlando Bloom's Legolas, or
I still want that.
These iconic ways that we look at these characters, and if they don't, they might be disappointed. They might feel some sort of way. I'm not saying I or you or I will, but I just think it needs to be mentioned because it's something that. Let's say that there's a giant Lord of the Rings fan who this is the first Magic product they buy. This is the thing that gets them interested, and they see these characters and they're not what they expect. What are they going to think of this product, regardless of how you feel about it or not? So this is not a way for me to grandstand and say that it has to be the way the movies were, but I think that I appreciate them making it clear that that was not their goal, and that they wanted to do their own thing.
This is the same issue that a lot of people have with a lot of fandoms. You look at how people didn't like Robert Pattinson's Batman. You have people who didn't like the new Star Wars. You have people who didn't like. Okay, I don't know how you don't like Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man, but I mean, come on, it's pretty good. But you have those identities because you're like, this is what I know because this was the first thing that I saw. So, i.e., Lord of the Rings first movie, that's what you know. I.e., if the first Batman movie you see is Christian Bale, then that's what you know, which is weird. I'm very sorry.
I think the really cool thing that we saw with this, though, is there are a lot of people who have made this set, they're big Lord of the Rings fans.
Yeah.
That was very well expressed. So they're not going to do Lord of the Rings dirty.
I hope
they're going to make a great set, and they're going to make it look good. My hope, though, is that they still shine that original Lord of the Rings feel through.
So my second point that I want to bring to this, and I'm going to try to be quick with it as fast as I can. I like to look at and research a bunch of different just board games in general and a bunch of board game products. I think my history literally goes from like EDH Rec all the way down to like Board Game Geek. And I just like kind of looking
the second EDH Rec.
The second EDH Rec, yeah. And I just like looking at different things. Well, I've talked about it already once. Like the game X-Wing is made by Fantasy Flight Games, who also makes, for 10 years now, a Lord of the Rings, what they call LCG living card game. Yeah. So to give you a brief demonstration of what it is, or explanation of what it is, basically they release a set thing that can add to the game's wholeness of it all.
You don't buy randomized booster packs. You buy set amount of cards that are all the same that you add to the pool of cards you have already.
Yes.
There's no chance. There's no money cards. It's just, this is the set that we've chose to add on. Here you get the entire amount of that set.
And what's kind of cool about it is you don't have to buy it to get a different game experience, or you don't have to buy it to get the same game experience or a better game experience. You can choose whatever you want, which I kind of like that idea.
There's a couple different living card games that seem kind of cool, and I've always been interested to try.
And then make another good one like Marvel Champions, stuff like that. But that being said, they are a big company, not as big as Wizards, but a big company enough to like hold that name Lord of the Rings for a long time. I just hope that this doesn't conflict with that and start some weird
my understanding of the way Universes Beyond works is Wizards agrees to hold this license for a certain amount of time. And then the way they described it in a post I read a few weeks ago was, that's why we got the Innistrad versions of the Stranger Things cards, was because they only have a set amount of time to use the IP.
Right.
So they probably won't be able to reprint this Lord of the Rings set into Oblivion, but down the line, if they wanted to reprint these cards, they could reprint them as a Magic version of a different thing. So, again, we don't know what that looks like, but the last thing I wanted to mention, because I thought it was really cool, we just saw Baldur's Gate get a little bit of an alchemy release.
On Arena.
On Arena, through a set. Lord of the Rings will be an alchemy set. They will be porting some of the cards over to Arena.
Nice.
Again, probably not all of the set, but they will be making some of the set, which makes me really happy.
Yeah.
It's going to have its own mastery pass, just like Baldur's Gate did on Arena, which is going to be really cool.
That's
I'm
a
kind
good
of excited
thing,
for that. Next up, we have more Universes Beyond. So we got a little bit more about Warhammer 40k. My biggest note here when I was watching it was I'm just still excited to see what these 4 decks are going to entail and what the strategies are going to be. The only commander, of course, we've seen was the Avatar die, the Grixis guy. Well,
one's got spoiled.
One's been leaked, but we have yet to officially see it.
Yeah.
The cool thing they did announce was each of the decks has its own art for soaring, which is kind of cool.
That's bad. That's good, but that's bad.
And we saw some art here for a couple more of the I believe the commanders.
That probably is the Neganoids or whatever.
But anyway, Warhammer 40k seems really cool. I think the big thing to remember here is we are fighting. I told you the other night. I said the thing about the 40k decks that intrigues me is not every 40k deck is going to be bought and played with.
Right.
There are going to be 40k fans, just like there's going to be Lord of the Rings fans who buy a booster box of Lord of the Rings and never open it. There's going to be 40k fans who buy these as display pieces. So I think the sealed decks are going to get expensive, but I think the singles out of the decks are going to go a little bit lower in price.
Yeah.
Because people want the sealed deck with the commander on the front and the art more than they want
the Sol Ring.
Okay. Now, the other thing to remember is that we are getting collector's editions of each of the decks. They've announced that they're all going to be that special foiling. I forgot what it's called. But there's a special foiling that they're doing for the decks. That is what the collector's editions of the decks are. I was secretly hoping it was going to be like all extended art cards, but oh well. They did say that they're making 3 secret layer drops. Now, we don't know what these secret layer drops actually are. The rumor is that they're 3 more actual commander decks, because remember we got the heads I win, tails you lose commander deck that they did through Secret Lair. I don't believe that, but it could be cool. There's an Orcs one. Well, there's an Age of Sigmar, and then there's Blood Bowl.
Well, going off of those names alone, Orcs is their
an entire tribe.
An entire tribe. Sigmar is a very famous time of 40K.
So it's called Age of Sigmar. So I imagine it's some sort of era,
it's like a theme, revolving.
And then
theme.
Blood Bowl, of course, my understanding, of course, that's the video game. That's the only thing I know of it is the video game. But I'm sure there's more than that.
Yeah, it's a kind of like it was a parody game off of it, kind of like Unsets. And then it kind of really ramped up faster than anything else. And it's like its own competitive game.
This could be 3 10-card drops where they just have different things. This could be 3 commander decks. No one knows. But they have announced what those are. So I think that's kind of cool. I mean, like I said, I'm excited to, at minimum, see what this 40k thing becomes.
Yeah.
I'm willing to try one out. The Tyrannid Precon looks really cool, although I'll be 100% honest, we have seen the leak of it, and it kind of let me down.
Oh, that's so lackluster, man.
But that's not the point. I'm still excited that I will still make it my point to try at least one of them.
Yeah, I agree.
To spin it off, to build it, and see what I can do with it. Next up, we got an announcement that I literally paused this video at work, and my response was, what? And my coworkers around me are like, what? And I'm like, nothing.
Nothing, you won't get it.
Wizards announced that the next Universes Beyond product is Doctor Who, which is not something I ever expected from Magic, but makes me really happy. My wife and I are giant Doctor Who fans. Her favorite Doctor is David Tennant. Mine mostly is Matt Smith, although I do like Peter Capaldi's Doctor as well.
Peter Capaldi's pretty good.
I love the somber aspect of Matt Smith. I think something I resonate with a lot. And then I love Capaldi's accent and his humor. But anyway, we got to see some art. And we got
2 arts.
We saw more than that on the stream.
Yeah, the stream did.
But we found some information. 4 commander decks. We don't know what. A friend and I, Steven and I, were chatting, and we hope that at least one of them is a villain. We're hoping for Cybermen. We're hoping for Daleks. We're hoping for something more than just doctors. We're hoping for some sort of. I mean, the two most iconic Doctor Who villains, at least of the current era, are Cybermen and Daleks, right? So we hope that they see some sort of representation.
I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan. Sorry. Sorry. You can kick me off now. What are the little like angels that like kill you if you close your eyes or look away?
Oh yes, I forgot the name of them.
Dang it, Zach.
I know. Roast me in the comments. Yeah, they would be cool. I mean, there's so many cool Doctor Who villains. It's not.
Sorry. You said yeah, dude. I like it. No, dude.
No, dude. Anyway, so for Commander X, but the interesting thing here is that I'm gonna remember the name like 3 segments from now, and I'm gonna interrupt it to come back to it.
Oh, sweet.
A Sacred Lair.
Oh my gosh.
As well as they announced that collector's boosters will be released with alternate arts for the cards in the decks, and this confused me, but it also excites me.
So there'll probably be boosters, but they probably won't release them in a booster box. I'm guessing, like a collector's box.
They might.
They might.
Question might be: is it only the new cards from?
I hope
you
so.
know that.
That
my
would be
my
cool.
guess is we saw TARDIS art, which people think is a basic land, but maybe they make like a command tower.
I was gonna say, make it a
TARDIS.
command tower.
I'm
That'd
sure
be
there's
so
going to be
cool.
more involved. But my biggest note was I'm excited to see what Doctor Who functionally is in Magic. How does it work? What does it look like? How does it function?
I think
I love the idea of having a doctor as my commander. There's the joke online that my Optimus Prime is going to crew my Megatron, and I'm gonna attack you and you're gonna block with your My Little Pony. There's this joke that like Magic's just gonna become this smorgasbord of random IPs.
And if it does, who cares? I think it's great that they're trying.
But I think
to do this.
The cool part here is, there's a lot of people, especially Gavin Verhey, who are giant Doctor Who fans. There's a lot of Doctor Who fans that work at Wizards. And so I think it's cool that as soon as it was announced, the people who worked on it were like, I'm so excited about this. This is one of my favorite things. Like, I was excited to work with this. They partnered with the BBC. They have all of this official art. This is, just like they partnered with the rights to get stuff for Lord of the Rings. They've done the same thing here. They have rights to all of their arts. I mean, this is not a screen grab of Matt Smith. I'm pretty sure this is an actual digital painting or something. So it's not like they just literally screen grabbed the show and were like, okay, here's art, which was some people's kind of machination towards the Arcane Secret Lair was, okay, well, these are just screenshots from the show. So we don't know. We don't know what this is going to be, but it really excites me because I think it's something different.
2 things. First, screenshots from the Arcane series was fine because that show was beautiful.
I agree. It was well done. But some people said, like, well, it's so, like, basic. Like, they could have done more.
They're just dumb.
But I'm like,
Second,
okay, yeah, but I mean, that was all new art, though. It's not like they had ripped it from somewhere else.
Right. So, second, my hope that with, like, Warhammer, Lord of the Rings, and Doctor Who, I hope that they are willing to go the distance with more than just one card. If we look at the Secret Lairs of the past, that are the only 3 I can think of that are like, these are their only cards, and there's no other cards except for one of these sets there, or one of these Secret Lairs I'm going to talk about. And that's the Walking Dead ones, the you just said it, the show, the stupid show, Netflix show, what is it called?
Arcane?
Stranger Things.
Oh, Stranger Things, yeah.
The Stranger Things, and the Street Fighter ones that are coming out, or are out. No, they're coming out. They
are out.
They are out. Okay, sorry, I'm losing my mind on dates and whatnot. So those 3, except for the Stranger Things, obviously the Stranger Things has another card now that came out with New Cabana, which was cool. Blah blah blah. So, but those 3, before that, were like the only 3 that have like their own thing to it. And then we also have like the Dungeons and Dragons sets now too that are, yes, a part of Wizards, but not a part of the Magic the Gathering scene, which I think are all great because it gives us a new outlook on it. But what a lot of people don't like is like they're just lackluster. There's literally nothing fun to play with those. Like, yes, it's fun. Oh, okay, I can't say that because I play 5-color gates and I have so much fun. I played dice rolling and I had fun with it. But
yeah, I can see why people may thought that like there were definitely cards in the Street Fighter Secret Lair that I think rested on the merits of their characters rather than the abilities on the cards.
Well, that's what I'm getting to, is like, we look at all those, and I can tell you probably 3 cards from all of that will continue to, like, play in Commander, and continue to play in Commander for years and years. And one of those
there are some of those that have broken into Legacy.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Rick Steadfast Leader was played in Legacy.
I was about to say, you have Rick, you have the ancient brat, or not the ancient brass, the ancient copper dragon, and I'm blanking on my third one that I literally just thought about. But like those two, for instance, like those will go for a while, but that's 2 out of like what 300 cards that I'm thinking about. Like that's not good. I hope this doesn't do that. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, my hope is that the commander decks from the 40k decks and these, my hope is they help with that. They help give some sort of identity to them.
Yeah.
And help them kind of push forward. Because I think that they're a really good idea. The thing I like is that it doesn't put these behind a paywall. You know, the bad part about the secret layers was if you didn't buy them when they got announced,
you're screwed.
Good luck.
Yeah.
My hope is with these is that the decks become more readily available. They're easier to find in the second market. Same thing with Warhammer 40k decks. You know, they'll be easier to find in the secondary market.
Easier to find.
Whether there's a markup or not.
There'll be a markup. Yeah.
But at least they'll be a little bit more accessible than these other secret layers that you cannot buy unless you want to buy them as singles or sealed things on eBay. Yeah. So,
which some people are okay with.
I can understand, and that's okay. I'm just saying, my hope is that because they're doing these as decks, that we see them be more readily available. Okay, so I want to start off. We're gonna go right into our side topics for today.
Okay.
I really loved our format of having something to talk about last time, and then having these random topics.
I like them.
I prepared a couple random topics for us to talk about. But the first one I want to talk about will slightly give away some things from Dominaria. But Mikey, I pulled up the Low Walker's secret lair for you.
Oh.
And as we can see, now 2 of these 5 Planeswalkers have been completed. So, there's been some talk online. Was this a joke?
I love this.
Was this a jab? Is this now a joke that they played on us on 5 of the Planeswalkers that are going to get completed? Now, I think that that's a little, maybe a little bit too on the nose, but isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to think that they gave us a secret lair with 5 Planeswalkers that were going to be completed before any of us knew?
That would be amazing. Okay, so here's my thing. I wish I could be on a storyboard team, because these are the dumbass ideas that I would do.
2 of 5 seems pretty improbable, though, right? Like, for the record, 2 of these Planeswalkers are 2 of the most popular Planeswalkers of all time. The third one, Tameo, being very popular as well. But, I mean, Ajani and Sorin have both gotten more than 5 cards each, right? Ashiok and Angrath are both newer Planeswalkers, although they both have fans in their own right. Angrath, of course, being from Ixalan fame, of course, his time there and then went back. Ashiok being tied to Theros and that kind of thing.
I need more Theros
wouldn't
now,
it be funny?
And I want Angrath to go to Theros.
Wouldn't it be funny if all 5 of these got completed?
So, I want to say yes.
Again, I don't think this is a big brain play. I don't think this was them, like, styling on us. But
Dang,
wouldn't it be
so
hilarious
cool
if they did?
I want to say, well,
wouldn't it be funny if they literally released that? Because remember, I think they released this before Tameo got completed. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't it be interesting?
Because they did it, they released it right after the last time we went to Innistrad. So yeah, so everybody was kind of like mad about the story.
If they put this out there and none of us knew. Now, it was a little obvious now once the second one got checked off that like, I doubt it. Like, I doubt Angrath gets actually completed because from what we know, he's on his homeworld now and doesn't want anything to do with anything. I mean, you could make an argument for Sorin or Ashiok at why they would actually be useful. But I think it's just kind of an interesting theory. Why not have fun with the theory? Is it, my thought was like, man, what if this is actually a thing? What if this is actually...
I mean, it would make sense because, like, we just got done with Innistrad. We're going back to Ixalan. I mean, Ashiok just makes me want more Theros, which I'm always down for more Theros.
Wizards, please make 9 more Theros sets.
Yes. But before you do that, please make a Tarkir set. Anyway, I missed that plane.
Shout out to Steven, though. He's holding the Ajani from this secret lair for me. But
you actually are going to play Mentor of Heroes?
I gotta find something. Even if I never play it, I think it's
play
worth
it in Dynas. Just watch it.
But anyway,
literally massacre.
I wanted to start there just because I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about.
That's amazing. I love
theory. We have never covered a secret lair drop on our podcast before.
We're having fun with it.
We've talked about them.
Yeah.
We've mentioned that we were excited that certain things got released, but I figured we talked about the Wizards Presents. We talked about things that are coming up. I wanted to talk about some of these secret layers just to get your opinion on them.
Okay.
I look at these every time they come out and I decide whether I think they're worth it or not. But this is something I primarily do myself. My main goal here is I want your opinion on these.
Yay.
I don't know if you've seen them yet or not. They just dropped like either today or yesterday.
The Jaya cards themselves?
Oh no, all of this entire. We're gonna go through the entire drop.
Oh, okay, cool.
I want to see
pull it up
what you think of them. I can get you bigger images here, but what you think of them? Would you buy them? And I'll answer whether I'd buy them and whether we think they're a good value. So the first is In Memoriam for Jaya Ballard. I'm sorry if you've not listened to the story. You're off your exit ramp at this point. Jaya Ballard is unfortunately killed in the story, and so Wizards released a secret layer in her honor. We get Jaya Ballard, her card from the original Dominaria set. We see Pyromancer's Goggles, Jaya's Immolating Inferno, Pyretic Ritual, and Repercussion, and all of them are beautiful borderless arts featuring Jaya.
First off, the red player in me wants to buy this immediately, but the second thing, I love that I didn't know the story. You said she died, and it's like, I was like, oh darn. And then I kind of moved on.
I was honestly saddened because like Jaya was one of those planeswalkers that I was like, man, when I think of red mages and Magic, like Chandra's the first person people think of, but like Jaya's cards have also always been really good.
Oh, they've been really good. Oh yeah.
I think they picked a good mix of cards. They picked my favorite of her planeswalker cards.
Yep.
They picked a great artifact for most red spell singing
decks.
decks.
Yes.
You picked Jaya's Immolating Inferno, one of my favorite damage spells, gets played in one of my favorite damage decks, and then we get a ritual in red, which is pretty red, right? You get this, you get Jessica's Bow. You have all of these red rituals that give you mana. Repercussion I did not know existed, and when I read the card first time, I'm like, that seems good.
It is definitely good. It's a fun card.
I wouldn't buy it just because I have no use for the cards. The only card I actually have use for is Jaya's Immolating Inferno, and I can buy one for 75 cents, so I'm not really that worried about it. But I love the art. If anything, I'm a fan of the art.
I agree. If it wasn't $30, I think I would grab it like right now.
Like the art's gorgeous, but I know that I can pick up these if I wanted them. These are not going to be $10 cards. I mean, Pyromancer's Goggles is probably the most played of these five.
And it's probably the most expensive.
Pyretic Ritual gets played in Modern and things like that, but not as much in Commander. We have better Ritual cards in Commander. Seeding Song and Jessica's Will
Mana Geyser.
And Mana Geyser. So not as good, but Repercussion seems really cool. Did not know that card existed. That's the one thing I like about Secret Layers is sometimes you find cards you never knew existed.
Yeah.
It's cool. If I ever proxy any of these cards in the future, I will obviously pick these versions because I think they look really cool. Next up, we're going to move on to Dominaria United Textured. This is our 5 original Dominaria Elder Dragons.
That's so
in
cool.
stained glass art. So Dominaria, the showcase this time is stained glass art for all of our legendaries and rares and mythics. So we get to see the original 5 dragons in their stained glass. If you actually have a commander deck of any of these 5 of these, I think this is an automatic pickup for you.
Yeah.
But I don't play any of these. If I cared, I would buy it for collection purposes, but I don't. I don't have any use of any of these. I think the Arcades. I love the art. The art's gorgeous.
The art on all of them.
Especially the Arcades. It looks so cool in that art.
I think Chromium is my favorite of all of them. The art.
But again, not for me. And definitely not worth the $4 price point for the regular one. But that's okay. I mean, that's Secret Lair is not for everyone. It's for specific people. We have to remember that. Next up, we have the Nils Ham Secret Lair. This one I think is really, the artwork is just gorgeous. We have Deep Glow Skate, Tireless Tracker, of course, very well played card, Contagion Engine, and Sword of Truth and Justice. 4 cards for $30. This is about your average. This is your average Secret Lair price. Of course, Tireless Tracker is an old format all-star. That makes it pretty much worth it right there. Deep Glow Skate is widely used in Counters decks and Planeswalker decks.
Yeah.
So it's a good card. Contagion Engine is a kind of a fun card, especially in those Proliferate Infect decks. And then Sword of Truth and Justice is a great card in those Proliferate +1/+1 Counters deck. If you have a +1/+1 Counters deck, or you have one of those Proliferate type decks, I think most of these cards would help you.
Yeah.
Again, not something I'm going to buy because I don't play any of them, but I love the art. I think it's really cool. I love that we're getting these extra new versions of things. Like I said, if you have a use for the the Truth and Justice and the Tireless Tracker, this is worth buying.
Yeah.
Because those 2 cards will pay for it. Same thing with Contagion Engine, it will pay for it. But that art is gorgeous. Just beautiful, beautiful art.
Yeah, it's good art.
And that's what I love about these artist series ones, is the artist gets to make their own arts for these cards.
They do a great job.
They always end up just being pretty. Next up, we got Victor Adame Minguez. Probably pronounced that very wrong, and I apologize.
But dude, again, just great art.
Another artist series, we got Knight Exemplar, Knight of the White Orchid, of course, very well played commander card in white. Lord of the Undead, we get a Zombie Lord, and Compost. Feels a little bit more niche than the last one. Like, I don't think I would recommend people pick these up, because I think they're a little bit more niche than the last one. But if you can use the Lord of the Undead in the Compost, then I think this is worth picking up. Of course, the thing to remember with all of these now is if you buy the Secret Lair, you do get the art on sleeves for Arena. So it is kind of cool for the people who do care. But again, not the kind of product that I'd be interested in. I don't really play enough of these or any of these to make it worth it. But I do think they are really cool. Now, my favorite...
I was looking at this already, and I love this.
My favorite of these sets that we've seen so far, because they've done a couple of these. They've done a couple of these borderless new arts for things. We have Imaginary Friends. We saw the Pier art as a teaser, so we knew Pier and Toothy were going to be in this. They would not print Pier and not print Toothy with it. But we also see Matter Reshaper, and then the Rog himself, the Gitrog monster. I'm in love with this Gitrog monster. I think the art is gorgeous. I love this with the same love that I love that Derpy Craterhoof.
Oh,
It's just like what we needed. If you have a Pure and Toothy deck, this is worth it.
Yeah.
If you play the Gitrog monster, it's worth the cost of this.
I agree.
It will be worth the cost of the Secret Lair. Of these, this would be the one I would pick up, just for the Gitrog. Pure and Toothy are really cool. I think they're a really cool.
They're a fun partner commander, yeah.
I've always kind of considered going back and building them, but I never have. So maybe this will give me an excuse to try it and use the fun art.
Fun Simic.
Matter Reshaper, not a card I'm as familiar with. This was a Oath of the Gatewatch star. Got a lot of play in other formats. Good card. I mean, it's not the most expensive. I mean, Gitrog will be the most expensive card of these four.
Yeah.
But I think this is worth it. If you can use the Gitrog or you can use Pure and Toothy, this is more than worth it.
Gitrog's high up there on EDX rec, right?
Gitrog is not only a good commander in its own right, but it gets played in a lot of Sultai and Jund landfall decks as well.
It's
not
better,
just in its own
better
deck.
in the 99 for sure.
The Gitrog has its own pretty strong landfall deck. It's a great deck, but it is played in a lot of like Windgrace and Yurok and in Muldrotha and these lists where you take advantage of them that way. So I really like this one. I think it's really cool. Again, I am obsessed with this Gitrog monster art, more than I'm willing to admit. But more than worth the $30 there. Next up, we get to the thing that caused the most groaning from the community. We saw the Signets get a Secret Lair earlier this year, 5 in one and 5 in the other. And now Wizards brought the same artist back, Dan Frazier.
He does a great job.
And he's back to do all of the talismans. There are some talismans that are fairly expensive.
Yeah. And
they spread them out pretty well. I think if you're a commander player and you're looking to pick these up and you don't have any of them, this is not a bad way to get them. You're gonna overpay for some of them, but you're actually gonna probably underpay for other ones.
You're gonna save money in the long run for sure.
Like for example, in the Allied Talismans, Talisman of Progress has not seen a reprint ever, and same thing with some of them. Like they got some of them got Modern Horizons 1 reprints, some of them got Commander Deck reprints. But especially that Talisman of Progress one makes this worth it because the cost of it is actually pretty high. But if you're someone like me who has a staple binder and is building a lot of different colored decks, I bought the set of the Signets for that reason because I'm like, they're very good, especially in your non-green decks. Yeah. Same thing with the Talismans. They're perfect in your non-green decks. They're very well played, especially in spell slinging decks and things like that, because they come down for 2 mana and tap right away for mana, as opposed to the Signets where you have to put a mana into them. That's the big difference. Although in non-green decks, both are played equally. People don't discriminate to the Talismans because they're strictly better. People generally play both.
Yep.
So I would recommend you pick these up if you're getting into Commander or you're playing a lot of these non-green decks that need this artifact ramp. Mardu, Jeskai, these 3 color pairs that don't have access to good mana ramp, so they're using artifact ramp. I think those are really worth it for. I also just love the art. It's got this really weird style. It's not the same as the Signets. The Signets had that old look, but they had a different old look to them. Mm-hmm. These all have this little bit of horror vibe, a little bit of classic Magic art vibe. Like, I don't know what to call them, but they're all just really cool.
Yeah, you can see like the touch of each guild. The touch of each guild in it, which I think is very, very cool.
I think if I showed you them and told you to tell me which guild they were, you'd be able to tell me without me telling you which was which. And I think that's the coolest part about them. Do you have a pick for your favorite art of the 10?
It's the Golgari one, honestly. The dead little mosquito.
Dead mosquito. I really like the creativity, the Is It one. I just like the look of these broken flasks. And then it's the bug. I do kind of like the shield for the conviction because it's just so Boros in its art. But yeah, like I said, I think this is worth it's worth the $60 for the 10 cards because I think that they're going to get a lot of use, especially if you do the staple binder route.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person who cares about just having pretty arts like me and you want to match things where you can match things, I want to pick these up because I want them to match the Signets. So that's something I'd be interested in doing. But again, I think these are the secret layers that are worth it. These are going to hold their values. They don't get reprinted. Certain ones get reprinted a lot, but certain ones don't. And so I think there is one in each side that is worth most of the cost, if not, part of it. And so I think they're worth it. Again, that's not Millzy saying you should go spend $60 and see where there is. I'm saying consider it. And the foil for these are foil etched, which I do actually like. I do actually like that they're not standard foils, they're foil etched. Because that means they won't curl. Which is a massive thing. All right, Mikey, we made it through our Wizards Presents. We made it through 2 of the side random topics they have. Let's do at least one more, and then we can see how we're doing on time, and we can do the rest of 2. We teased it earlier in the video, and I want to talk about it again. For the listeners or the watchers of this on our YouTube channel, if they click on our channel and go to our videos, they will see that we have a lot of content that we've released in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I want to talk about what the content is. We talked in our last side episode about what we wanted to be the future of our channel. It's been about 2 weeks since then, and we've released some content. We've had some ideas, as well as we've been working on other things. So really what I'm quick to do is talk about what we've worked on since then, how our ideas are materializing, what we've enjoyed, what we haven't enjoyed, and kind of put some more barbs out there for the future of what to expect. So I'll start off with probably the most glaring content we've released, which is Brawl videos.
Yeah.
I've recorded a few Brawl videos. It's been a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed it. Both Historic Brawl and Standard Brawl. I've said on both of the newer Brawl videos that I will probably be not crafting anything new for Brawl until rotation, because we will get a few sets rotating out and Domineer United coming in. So the Brawl decks videos coming up will be just Brawl decks that I've had together already. Whereas Historic Brawl, of course, nothing rotates out. It's just things get banned or changed in Alchemy. So I can spend the wild cards there and build new things, and I have decks that I'm working on. The one thing that I'd like to do is come back to decks from time to time. I don't want to be the channel who never replays a deck ever. It's got to be a new deck or I can't post the video. I just don't think that's any fun. And I have decks like Jetmir and Ognis that I really enjoy, and I'd like to see how they change over time, as well as I have Goreclaw and Historic Brawl. That's one of those decks I really enjoy playing. I'm working on a Volo Historic Brawl list since it's about to rotate out of Standard Brawl, and that's a kind of deck that I'd like to play more than once and see how it changes over time. I have my Kaikar and Alayla lists that I've had on Arena for a while, and those are the kind of lists that I'd like to see how they change over time. I'd like to come back to them maybe every set and see what changes and kind of see how they go forward. I don't want to hold myself to it's got to be a new deck or I can't record it, because I don't want to do that, and B, I just don't. I think it's fun when people are known for things, when they enjoy playing certain things, and my hope for Brawl content is maybe in the future I can start doing live streams where I play Brawl and chat with you guys if that's something that you guys want to see. We're not there yet, but I would like to be there.
Yeah, I have done a lot less on the content side, just with my time constraints, obviously. I also don't play as much Arena as much as Millzy does. I did finally download it on the iPad and took a couple hours and played some historic Brawl games with my Trelisara deck that I have on there, because it's like the only deck that I have on there.
But of course, we both recorded deck techs. And
Yes, I was about to say, yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed having this idea in my head of putting together a style of deck tech. I think I'm set on calling it the toolkit, and basically just like testing a deck, something I'm actually interested in playing, not just something random or not just something that is new. I've already released. I think it's already released, right?
Yep, Jasmine's already come out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Again, timing. I've already
Timing's a mess.
I've already done Jasmine, the new Jasmine from New Diamond Area. Had a ton of fun building the deck, have a ton of fun playing it and editing it. I'm still looking to add new cards. I actually did add a new card to it already. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I got a new one coming. I'll be recording it soon and getting it edited really quickly, and then we'll post it up there. That'll probably be like an every other week thing, because we are doing our biggest thing, which I'm sure you're probably excited about.
Yeah, so for me, I made the commitment to record a deck tech for all my main decks,
Yep.
and then I will be recording deck techs for decks that are making it into those final stages of testing, or those decks that I'm tinkering with. Those are the ones I want to do after that. The next big piece of content that the first episode is going to be released this week, and I have two more already, one or two more ready after that, is a series I'm calling Millzy Brews. Very different, very similar to our head-to-head brews, but instead it's just me brewing. I've recorded 2 videos so far. Zaxara will be up by the time you hear this, and that is, I announced in that video, the first couple I'm doing are old lists that I'm kind of updating, revamping, and bringing back to the test box and trying again, because they were decks that I loved, but for one reason or another they got debuilt or passed on for the decks. The second one is my favorite Enchantress, Sithis, coming back, and that is a deck. So Zaxara I built from kind of a 140 card pool of what I kind of wanted in the deck, plus getting some recommendations from EDH Rec. Sithis, although I had a good idea of what I wanted in the deck, I built completely from EDH Rec, showing how I would do that process, how I'd recommend people do that process. And so I wanted to show a little bit different. Not every deck that I build is going to have a strategy in mind. I've got 2 or 3 more that I'm going to do that are old decks that I'm bringing back, and then everything after that will be straight new. It'll be hitting up Scryfall to look up cards. It'll be using EDH Rec to build my list. It'll be doing more of what I expect most people do, whereas these first few are just me bringing those back, and I think it's cool to talk about them and why I liked the deck originally and what I want to do with them.
And of course, we are continuing to try to record actual gameplay for you guys. 4-player matches are in the works still.
We have 2 episodes of gameplay in the editing room.
Yep.
We're trying to edit them right. We're trying to get them as best that we can make them. Again, the first couple episodes, just like anything, are going to be a learning run for us.
Yeah.
At what does recording look like? What does editing look like? How do we encourage the players who are playing to play to the best of their abilities on camera? How do we make the game structure, and how does it look? These first 2 were our dry run. They were us figuring it out. They were us trying. And I think we learned a lot. We learned a ton. So the next time we sit down to record, I think we're going to have a lot of good notes. For the moment in time, we're no release date. I think we want to get the editing right. We want to get the structure of what we expect them to look like when they're released right, so that way when we sit back down to record again, we know what we need. I think we did a pretty good job at taking notes, highlighting the things that needed to be highlighted on the back end for editing, but at the end of the day, we didn't know what to expect.
No.
So I think we learned a lot. The audio is good. The video is good.
It's a lot of fun, that's for sure.
The players had fun. All of us had fun on camera. There really weren't many awkward moments. Although they felt awkward in the moment, when you watch them back on camera, the pace feels okay and it's not too bad. Again, we're not game nights.
No.
We're not the worst possible commander show from Cover Go Blue. We're not these shows that have 10 cameras that can loop back and forth between all these frames. For now, we're a top-down commander gameplay show. That's what we have access to, and that's what we want to produce to the best of our ability.
And I mean, and we would love to continue to try to bring that content to each and every single one of
you.
Yeah, you. As best as we possibly can.
We want your opinion.
We do want your opinion, and this is where I was going to ask if you guys obviously like it. Please just leave a comment on that video when it actually does post. If you like it so much, and I think I like putting my foot in my mouth when I'm on this show.
If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna go there. We already did that. Go back and listen to one of our first episodes, and you'll figure out why I don't talk anymore.
But I'm saying, by the time that comes out.
Oh yeah, no, I'd be perfect.
My thing was good to say is, if you're a fan of ours and you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're not going to pay you to fly you in. We're not the command zone. We don't have that much money.
Well,
but if you're a fan of ours and you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you're interested in trying to be on a game, I would be more than willing to try it.
Yeah.
We're never going to turn that down.
No.
Mostly because we're stewards of the game and we love the game.
Yeah, we would love to get to know you first, of course. We don't want to just throw you into the fire if you're nervous. But obviously, you probably wouldn't want to jump into that. Sorry. But
and to put my foot even further in my mouth.
Yes, please go. My foot's already way back here, dude.
If you live on the east or northeast suburbs of Dallas and you're interested in playing Commander with us, we would love to chat with you about coming out and maybe joining us to try out.
Oh yeah, and just playing with us regularly. Yeah, fine.
I won't name towns specifically, but by saying northeast suburbs of Dallas, by that I mean the outskirts of Dallas, and not like the
east,
the high, not like
east, not west.
But if you live in the northeast to east suburbs of Dallas and you're interested in playing some Commander, we would love to have you. Again, that's not a ploy to get you to come. Play if you don't want to, but we're not a podcast that says that you have to pay money to interact with us. We're not a podcast that says that you need to pay for our Patreon tier.
I mean, if you do want to pay for anything, you can go to rogueenergy.com, use the code hometown, that's all cap, save 10% off on your entire order. But if you actually I told you my foot way back here, bro. If you actually do like the gameplay enough, I know we'll probably maybe only have 2 episodes out by this time happens. I know at the beginning of this show we talked.
By the time this episode release, we'll have 0 out. But
no. By the time not this, but what I'm about to say happens.
Okay.
I love you. If you like them that much and you actually want to continue to see it and you want our, like I said, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. If you want our live stream to be this grandiose of a first live stream for the Hometown Commander podcast, or we'll just call it a show now, the Hometown Commander show, then guess what? We would love to live stream. I can't talk today. Live stream gameplay. We would love to. Millzy and I have talked about, and I've brainstormed so many ideas in my head of just different ideas to live stream. The thing with live stream is what I think a lot of people don't understand is, yes, it's a long show or an episode of a show. But what it does is it gives us an opportunity to interact with any of the listeners or watchers that we have, and I think that's what's really, really awesome. Is I don't think have any fans yet per se. If we do, that's crazy, but awesome at the same time.
Please come find us. No,
yeah, seriously, seek me out, stalk me. No. But what I think is so cool is just that interaction piece. I know that I get giddy when I post a comment on someone not necessarily famous, but I would think famous. I'm a fan of, whether it be
they respond,
or even like it, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was watching a YouTuber this week, and he mentioned in the video he was playing Brawl. And mentioned that they just had their first kiddo, and the kiddo was on his lap while he was playing, and he was constantly apologizing, like, I'm sorry if my son makes any noise. I'm like, no, dude, that's awesome. Like, don't apologize for that. The kid was not screaming, just cooing in the background while he was playing. And I made a comment, I was like, yeah, man, I feel you, I'll be there in March, and I'm excited. And he goes, yeah, man, it's great, you're going to love it. And I was like, man, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to respond.
Yeah.
It was so cool that he did. Shout out to MTG Josh for that, but on YouTube. But it was just cool that I made a comment that was relevant and they responded back.
Yeah,
that's honestly what I want as a content creator, is to be the people that people can interact with.
Yeah,
we're not hiding behind a paywall.
No,
we're not hiding behind
And
magic doors that you have to traverse through. I'm trying to throw in magic
was
as a
that a pun?
as many times
wow,
that
March
you
is
have
coming
to.
a lot sooner with your dad puns.
That, I don't want people to have to feel like they have to go through all of these ways to reach out to us.
I agree.
And we're not there yet where we're both, I mean, we both don't have Twitter handles or anything like that, but like, we're not hard to find.
No. But I also don't want to ever really get to that point either. I don't want us to ever have to like have a paywall or have a Patreon, even though yeah, that'd be great.
I see the benefit of it, but I don't want it to lock. There are a couple shows that I watch where Patreon only gets you
so much
content that it does not get you content that wouldn't be released otherwise.
Right.
It gets you little trinkets or like an extra live stream that you can be on with like things that aren't meaningful day to day. It's not content that you wouldn't see otherwise.
It's not a full on episode.
But it's extra things if that's what you want to do. I'd be okay with that, but I'm never going to be okay with us locking anything behind a paywall that people can't
If someone wants to start a Patreon for us, and then just literally the first level is like $1, you get a signed photo of Millzy's face.
I'll do it. I'll sign every photo for that $1 too.
It's not even like you smiling. It's literally just you with like thinking man, just looking intently in the camera.
I have the perfect old Facebook photo for that shot.
Yum,
we can talk about this later. But anyway, I want to do one last topic because we have no cap for recording, so why not go for broke?
Oh wait, yes we. We don't. Look at that.
We won't go too much longer here, but I think it'll be easy to talk about. But one thing we haven't talked about in a while is what we're working on. What are we brewing up?
Oh.
What are we jamming down on? What are we living the dream with?
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck vehicles is all about. I see that second thing, and I want to get up and leave.
So the main ideas as far as things I'm getting around to is this stack of decks that I'm doing for these videos. I mean, I'm not counting those because those I had planned out. I'm working on. I love the Kyler Humans list that I've been kind of updating after our head-to-head episode. It's a deck that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
But I've seen a few lists doing Naya Humans with Samut, the tested from Amaket, and it seems something that might be really fun because I really like Halan and Elena, and I really like the Boros Humans that I play in Winota, and I think it'd be cool to try to make some sort of Naya Humans list, kind of play that mid-range, extra combat-y style, and I think it could be a ton of fun. So I'm working on that. I'm working on the idea of 2 different Super Friends lists. One's with Spara, and one with Kethis. I have yet to find an Abzan deck I love, so I'm still trying to find it.
Mm-hmm. Something else that you written down. You may please write say it.
Well, the most important thing is I'm still, and this is remember the joke I told you about how, and I told you I was going to save. I think this is the perfect moment because it's terrible, and we're deep enough in an episode that it's not going to offend anybody.
All right.
At this point. My obsession to find a landfall deck I actually enjoy.
Well, that wasn't what I was going for, but I love it. Go on.
Is akin to a sorority sister's love of drinking. Like, I am just trying my best to just dump as much of my time into landfall decks as I can because I'm still trying to find one, and even if I have to stay up all night puking in the toilet, I still want to find that landfall deck that I really love.
This is amazing. Yes, keep going.
So I've got Yurok. Yurok has been a deck that I've enjoyed. It'll get a little bit better.
Just don't keep a safe hand with it.
Yeah. I have been trying to find a Jund deck that isn't Corvold for a long time because
that deck is gross.
I hate myself a little bit when I play Corvold.
Yeah.
The only deck I've ever played where I hate myself.
That commander is only not number 1.
We're getting Soul of Windgrace in Dominaria, and I'm stoked because I like the original Windgrace, but...
Are you going to play original Windgrace in Soul of Windgrace?
In the list, yes.
Okay, sweet.
But sure. I'm trying for Soul of Windgrace because I think it's a little bit more of the out of the graveyard Gitrog monstery style that I want the Jund Landfall to be. So I'm doing that. And then,
oh boy.
I know you're excited for this.
I'm not.
I'm trying my best to bring back my Temur Elementals deck. But I had the idea of trying 4-color Elementals with Omnath and bringing in like Oboon and the white Elementals and seeing if I can make it work. It'll still be Landfall, of course, because
that's yeah.
Lands be good, but it'd be more tribal.
Omnath like the land.
It'd be more tribal than Landfall, but of course most of the Elemental tribe cares about Landfall, so it'll be very easy to make that work. But the note that you're referring to, we've gotten a couple cool cards from Dominaria that make me really want to explore Grixis Dragons. And who else but to build Grixis Dragons with?
Daddy.
Then I'm trying to think of a random obscure Grixis legend, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. Nicol Bolas, the Ravager, seems like he'd be really fun as either a Nixus Dragons commander or a Grixis Super Friends commander. One of the two. I've seen the list go around. My Grixis heart right now still is for Kess. I love that deck, and it's a ton of fun to play. And so it will get my attention as a Grixis deck before either of those ideas. But I love my Miram list. It's a deck that I really enjoy, but unfortunately it's kind of been hated off of our Monday night table. So I'm trying to find another dragon deck to play on Monday nights. And my hope is Grixis Dragons could be something that could be fun. Get to play some of the dragons I don't get to play normally.
Just take out Sneak Attack, and I think we'll be okay.
I don't think so, but I like that you think
I will be okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main things, to be honest. The other deck that I'm kind of excited about, because it's been something that's been in the back of my head for a while. I played it once on Monday night, and then I took the deck apart because I realized I built it terribly. But I've seen a few new cards in the last few sets that have been going to build it, is Rune of the Hidden Ways Blink. Bant Blink seems like a lot of fun, and I'm excited to try that out.
Yeah, I think...
My Volo list, which I plan on putting back together, is very much a enter the battlefield type Simic list, and I realized that some of the cards in that deck bode well to a Bant Blink deck, but the difference is I'm going to spin it completely towards Blink. We're playing the Yorion, we're playing the Conjurer's Closet and the Thassa. You're playing the things that actually actively make you blink, as the Brago, things like that, as opposed to Volo, which just plays Thassa for the purpose of getting those into the battlefield effects again. It's less about true blink, and it's more about taking advantage of those nice big creatures that we want to enter the battlefield again.
Because who doesn't want a Crater Hoof Behemoth entering the battlefield twice?
I'm excited about Rune Blink because I've seen a lot of great creatures in the last 8 months to get me real excited to put it in that deck.
Who doesn't want to put an Apex Devastator twice on the stack?
Well, Volo, you could do that.
No. Just blink it. That's what I'm saying.
It's a cast ability, remember. Cascade is a cast ability, not a...
That's right. Oh, okay.
But I would love to double up on I would love to get a Titan of Industry return.
Oh, gross. I was thinking, Crater Hoof, getting that twice.
Avenger of Zendikar, love to get that twice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cards that have come out over the last
I love that
year.
All these cards we have said are unfortunately green.
Shout out to the Green Overlords. But anyway, guys, that's all I have. I had one last topic, but we'll save it for next time because
we're pretty heavy.
We're getting pretty deep here in the time, and I still want people to enjoy listening to us not ramble for 3 hours.
Even though we could.
But Mikey, that's all I have. Do anything else to the listeners?
Hey, 30 years of Magic, and it's still going strong. I don't really know how, but it is. This game annoys the hell out of me so much that I keep playing it.
I have Gatherer pulled up here on the visual aid, and it's been here the entire time. We've talked about the side episode topic, so I think it's hilarious. But shout out to Scrapho being down when we recorded this episode. Otherwise, that would have been my topic of choice. But as a random aside, I made another video about staple binders, and I actually showed off my staple binder. It's on the YouTube channel. If that was a episode you heard in the past, go check out that episode. But I also kind of re-explained the same thing in the video. It's something I recommend for every Commander player. You should make one. It'll help you. Go check out that video and go tell me why I'm wrong in the comments.
Definitely do. Guys, we are super excited to see what comes up in the later times. Dominaria seems like a lot of fun. So does the Brothers War. So does all the Phyrexian googly booglies that you can imagine. But until next time, I don't know where I was going with
Drink
this.
Energy. Energy.com, code hometown.
See you guys next time.
See you.